3 weeks later, many months later.
All right. Good evening. We're back on another Tuesday, another Adoptee Foster Tuesday. Welcome to the Real Precious Network. Welcome. Tonight's going to be a good one. Hopefully, people, kind of straggle in.
Mm-hmm.
But tonight's going to be a good night. I have 3 videos that I want to go over and, us just talk through and just point out some things within the foster care and adoption sector, as we always do every single week. But I think tonight's definitely going to be a good live. And if you guys don't catch it live, definitely catch the replay. Hit the like button as you come in, share the video so the algorithm knows that we're having this very much needed conversation, because we know that foster care and adoption conversations are very underserved. And so us who are adopted, us who have been through foster care, we assume the responsibility to have these conversations, to get these talking points out. And so that, I think that there are a lot more adopted and foster care individuals dwelling amongst each other, but because no one talks about it, they don't know. They just don't know. And so we have these conversations to really bring light to the subject and the family dynamic, because it happens more than we know. You may not be adopted by a stranger. It could be a family member. It could be a placement like that. So we have these conversations. We welcome you all. Thank you guys so much for being here. Chelsea, I see you in the chat. Good evening. Definitely share the live. And of course, I do drop the link if you'd like to, be on the stage with us. And then no disrespect. Y'all know the rules. There's only really one rule. No disrespect, right? We like to keep it over here. Mr. Leon, how are you this evening?
Hey, good evening. I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's Tuesday. We're almost to the middle of the week, and I really can't complain. It's been a good week so far.
The weather's starting to be more nicer.
Yes. Today was I think the highest today got up to 60. Next week is really gonna be nice. Like next week is gonna be like in the 70s and 80s. So definitely looking forward to that. It's been choppy, it's been up and down,
Yeah.
7. It's been that.
It's that get sick weather.
That's what I told you. I sneezed and I was like, is that a sneeze of getting sick? Do I need to chug down some vitamin C over here? Because it is that getting, and then you have the pollen. I don't really have allergies, but I think you can develop allergies at any age. I don't got some wood around here. I don't have allergies, but when you start coughing and sneezing and you just know that spring is in the air, and that is exactly what in the air. Everybody in the office is coughing, sneezing. I'm like, all right, we need the air to circulate up in here. All right. But yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Looking forward to this conversation. Guys, again, hit that like button, share the live, and subscribe. Definitely hit the bell notification so you know when we are going live. Those who have been watching know that we go live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. However, you may be new and you may not know. So just know that on Tuesday nights, we go live for the Adoptee Foster. And on Wednesday nights, we have our men's forum where we talk about relationships, love, a little bit of family over there as well. Tomorrow, we're going to be having some interesting conversation over there. So definitely hit that bell notification so you know when we're live, so you can pick your show that you would want to watch. Watch both of them, like both of them, engage with both of them. Okay, both of them. All right. So this first video that I came across, it's about foster care, but it's about how foster parents think about foster care. And not a lot of people, may know this. A lot of times when children have to displaced from their homes, and again, reunification is always the goal, right? When children are taken from their home, it's supposed to be a temporary thing. And when it's a temporary thing, children are placed in foster care. However, this DIFUS worker explains how it really goes down and how children are, selected to be in your care. And it's not necessarily, what you would think. So I'm going to add this to the stage, and then we're going to get into it.
Have to be willing and ready and able.
Hold on now. You know how come on.
You get your certificate to accept them. We try our best to get you what you
I'm just going to rewind just so we watch it from the very beginning. I don't want to leave anything out.
So you do have to be willing and ready and able as soon as you get your certificate to accept them. We try our best to get you what you like, but a lot of times you don't really get your pick. You say, I want a boy between 2 and 4.
Yes.
Certificate. What is she talking about?
So you do have to go through, it's not necessarily training, but your house has to be, children proof, child proof.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you go through a background check. There are certain things they have to make sure, you're in the right environment. But there are certain things that foster parents have to go through, and so do adoptive parents. Adoptive parents, the procedure is a lot longer, but for foster care, I still don't think that they do the extensive checks that they need to do. I think if your house clean, you know how to lock up the sockets and put some out, you know what I mean? It's like, all right, you're eligible. So I don't know how much of a certificate it is, and I don't know if you get a certificate in every single state, but wherever she is, they must get a certificate.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Or it might not happen like that. I might call you for a boy 9 or 10. So you got this boy setup room and you don't want a 9 or 10-year-old, but I'm like, hey, he's got nowhere to go. Can you give him a chance? And you might say, just for a little while. I really want a little. I told you I want. And then so our hope is to have enough families that we can match the child with the family that's looking for that match.
All right. So, I mean, the expectations versus reality in fostering. Just like with adoption and foster care, you can go in with expectations and want a baby. You may want, like she said, a little girl. But the reality is you are getting what is available. My question is, do you think it should be almost like dating? Like in dating, you have preferences. That's why I always say that adoption is almost like marriage. Like we're marrying our parents in a sense, because there's paperwork, there's legalities, there's court dates, but in foster care, it's a little bit more like dating. It's not like marriage because in foster care, it's temporary. But do you think that there should be a preference that should be upheld? Or do you think it's foster care, children need homes. Don't try and be picky.
Uh, no, I think they should keep their priority number one. Like, why would you why would you place somebody somewhere where the parents don't even they're like, this ain't what we asked for. Like that's
Mm.
just like that's just like you ordering some pizza and you say, okay, I want a meat lover's pizza. That's my favorite, by the way. And they show up with the garbage can pizza with everything on it. No, that's not what I ordered. And it's the same thing when they put their requirements in. That's the purpose of having a requirement is to, they they probably talked about this, especially if they're a family. They've probably talked about this, like, like how old do you want them to be? Do you want to be a boy or a girl? Um, what age range are you willing to accept, and what age range are you not willing to accept? I mean, I think um, for this to be a successful placement, they have to, I think, really adhere to what the parents want because at the end of the day, like you said, it's going to be a long-term commitment, right? So you don't want the parents to be unhappy, because they're the ones that have to actually potentially grow this young adult into, an adult that's going try to be productive in society.
So yes, in adoption, but in
Hmm.
foster care is temporary. And in some cases, let me actually backtrack because in a lot of cases, foster care is temporary. For me, it was temporary, right? I was in 4 different foster homes, one being a family member who actually passed away, and that's how I was separated from my brother and we went into different foster homes. So if she didn't pass away, we may have still been with our biological family. Who knows? Only God knows.
Hmm.
However, in foster care, there is an option to foster to adopt. So you're right. There are cases where, you know, the foster care period is almost like a trial period, where you're seeing how the child emotionally reacts to you, physically reacts to you, all of that, the surroundings, and how the child gets along in that environment outside of their biological environment. So I don't want it to seem like foster care is only temporary, because there are instances where foster parents are able to foster to adopt. I actually think that should only be the case. It should either be foster care. You're a foster parent and you don't want to adopt, and you want to be there for children, to give them a loving environment, give them shelter, give them love, all that good stuff, or it should be foster to adopt, where the child has already been acclimated to this environment, and then the transition is just more of a long-term transition rather than the child being taken out of a foster home and placed with people who want to adopt.
Hmm.
And that was the case that I was in. I was in my last foster home, loved it there. I mean, that was my childhood, right? And then I was adopted by um, by my parents who wanted to adopt, but we didn't have any real trial period. And so that's why I felt like an arranged marriage to me, because it was just like, all right, you coming from here and you gonna go over there, right? And so I think that, and I always say that was traumatic for me, because I was good. I felt in my little child brain good, in the foster care that I was in. I had my friends, I had my school, I had my normalcy, I had my routine. And so taking me away from that was a huge adjustment for me. Um, but I see what you're saying, where it's like, they should have their pick. You would think that if or their preference, if a foster care home had their preference, then you really wouldn't have to worry about there not being care or love for the child, because the parent got what they wanted, right? The foster care parent got what they wanted. But I'm a little torn, because I don't know if it should be a preference, or it should be due to the needs of the child. And like she said, there are instances where it's just like, we have this little boy, and I know you wanted a girl, but he really needs a home to stay in. And it's kind of hard to believe that nobody else wanted a boy. What, everybody want girls, right? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm torn though, because in a way, you would want parents who are going to choose children that they know that they would love and adore and take care of. And so when the foster care or the child protective services agencies, just say, oh well, we have this 14-year-old who's been hopping around from foster home to foster home to foster home, and now nobody wants him or her in their foster home, and you're the next door. I don't know if that would even go over well. However, the child needs a home to stay in. They need discipline, they need structure. So with this, I really wanted to point out how it's almost like a luck of the draw when it comes to foster care. You don't necessarily always get what you want, right? It, it's not like a department store where you can go pick out a pair of jeans or the top
Mhm.
that you want. It comes from the need. And if there's a child in need, and that's what you're there for, and that's your purpose in fulfilling that need, should it matter if it's your preference or not?
Well, I'll say this. Um, I think in some cases, people who don't get their preferences, not everyone, but there are some people that treat the kids bad because they didn't um, get what they wanted.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
You
I
know,
like
I'm not saying every parent did that, but I am saying we see a lot of cases, especially online, where people are, in some cases, people are requesting to adopt black babies just so they can abuse them. Like, well, you see it because, and then like if you go on the Law and Crime Network and you watch some of their channels, you watch some of their stories, that's really what they came about. Like, but I'm not saying that's everybody, but I am saying that has it plays a big role. Like, it not, you know, and is foster care supposed to be long term, like adoption, or is it supposed to bridge the gap before you get adopted? Like, is that really the what adoption? I mean, what foster care is? It's like
yeah,
because they don't want to adopt, they're basically the unit for housing the kids until till they find like an appropriate house for them. I'm assuming that's what it is, right?
yeah. Like I said, there's some that just want to be foster parents, and it be a temporary thing, and like you said, bridge the gap. And it's not necessarily, again, it's not necessarily always for the child to be adopted, because the goal of foster care is really reunification with their biological family. But if that's not the case, then when there is a adopted family ready to adopt, now the child is eligible for adoption. And
Hmm.
if that foster care family does not want to adopt, they're not deemed as the foster to adopt type of family, then that child will, be taken from the foster care and presented to parents who want to adopt for long term. So foster care, like I said, is not always temporary, but most of the time adoption is temporary. You're going from house to house to house. There are cases where kids get kicked out of houses. There are cases where kids run away from, their foster homes. It's really a tumultuous time for a child who is trying to figure out their identity, that are taken away from their parents. It's pretty much the time where if the child is not adopted, that's when the child is going to act out, because there really aren't in foster care, you don't really get you still really don't get resources, for like mental resources, emotional. You have a caseworker. That's what you have. You have a caseworker. You don't have, caseworkers saying, you know what, we want to send you to this therapist to help the transition of this child, to help the overall well-being of the household, and have everyone mend and mesh in a positive way. It's no, you literally show up at that doorstep with that black trash bag and everything in that bag that you got. I'm telling you. And that's it. Figure it out.
So you had a caseworker that would come and see you once a week or once a month or twice a month?
I don't remember the frequency. It was often. I do remember it was often. But yeah, she would come and like take us out to eat. She would come and like talk to us. She would allow me and my brother to visit each other. Like she would take me to his, foster home after we got split up. So I do remember seeing my my caseworker often. I have pictures of my caseworker in my life book. I have, that's how I met one of my biological family members. Actually, the family member that I met was the daughter of the person that we were staying with when they took us from our parents, our biological great aunt. It was her daughter that I had a picture of, and I had no clue who she was when I was in, when I was, not to say that I didn't have any clue of who she was, but when we stopped, when I got adopted, I didn't remember, who she was or anything like that. When you're kids and you're around a whole bunch of adults, everybody's just an adult. So yeah, so with the caseworkers and making that transition a healthy one where you can express yourself and get your emotions out, that does not necessarily happen in foster care. It don't necessarily happen in adoption either. Your parents are literally left to figure it out. Now, of course, like we always say, people always say, oh, there's no book on parenting, we're first-time parents. That's a lie. There's plenty of books on parenting, right? Just like there are plenty of resources for mental health, emotional health. It's out there, but it's not something that is provided to the foster family or to the adoptive family as something that is an ongoing thing. When I was adopted, I remember going to a therapist when we first got adopted, but I was still so angry then that it didn't stick. It didn't. I remember a paper with what we now call emojis. It was a feelings sheet. It was literally a white piece of paper, white and black piece of paper with either a smiley face, angry face, perplexed face. That's what emojis were back in the day. And now it's on our phone so we can text it. But I just always remember going over that paper like, how are you feeling today? Like, circle which one you're feeling like today. But it was never an ongoing process. And I think that needs to be an ongoing process, because foster care and adoption is something that does not leave you. It is something that you experience at every point, at every checkpoint in your life. You can't go through life without being reminded that you were either adopted or in foster care. And then of course, foster care is long-term. So that is something that you're literally living through on a daily basis. And you know, just as well as I know, being adopted, that there are things that will always remind us of our biological roots, you know, birthdays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, like those holidays that you spend with your family. And although we're spending it with our family, inevitably the thoughts of being with biological family, or even just wondering where they are, who they are, what they doing, those thoughts always will just be there for us. There is no, you know, letting it go, you know.
Yeah, and to be honest, I briefly remember like going to some kind of what they would call therapy, I guess. Um, but you know, as I got older, I don't ever remember like going to any kind of therapy. I don't know, maybe they thought that I didn't need it anymore, or
I didn't
I
know we
don't.
were healed. They
Uh,
thought we were good. They thought we were good. All right. They were like, all right, there.
uh, um, yeah, I don't, and I guess I didn't really have a whole lot of problems, I guess, coming up. So maybe, but you know, I was 3 years old, so I don't remember a whole lot. So it's probably good or it's probably bad at the same time.
That is an effect of foster care and adoption, though. It's, you know, there's a book called The Body Keeps Score, and so while you may not remember those things emotionally, your body will keep score, and you will do things out of out of it's almost like an unconscious but conscious you know, action, thought, feeling within you. And it's almost like you got to think like, well, why do I do that? Like, why exactly do I do that? Or, you know, why am I withdrawn? Or why is my, you know, people meter get real low real quick? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and it's not always drawn back to adoption and foster care. However, I was actually watching a video earlier of two babies, and they were talking about secure attachment. And the one baby cried when her mom left the room. And when a stranger came in to try to console the baby still cried. Then there was another baby who, when the mom left the room, didn't cry. And when a stranger came in, the baby didn't even acknowledge the stranger. And the baby that had the secure attachment was the baby who cried because she was able to recognize when her mom came back in the room, and she was able to be soothed by her mom. While the other baby said, you know what? These toys here, I'm gonna just occupy myself. I'm gonna just do it myself, right? And so that's the baby that didn't have the secure attachment because
Hmm.
emotionally she didn't recognize any type of love and care, because once the person left out the room, she kept herself occupied and said, well, if somebody leave, I'll just keep myself busy. And so emotionally and internally, psychologically, as a baby, the baby don't know that they're doing that, but they're doing that. And that's how the body keeps score. So as the baby gets older, she will always have, you know, maybe some type of anxious attachment, or an attachment where it's just like, if people leave, I'm okay with that. I can occupy myself. I can do things myself, or I can, you know, I'm not phased by it. Whereas someone who has a secure attachment is phased by it, but they're also soothed because of it. They can be soothed knowing that they're phased by it. So I thought that was pretty interesting with that video, because everyone would have thought that the baby that was crying, um, or the baby that wasn't crying, would have been the baby that had the secure attachment, and it's really the other way around. D-Man Entertainment, thank you so much for being here. He says, what is the rough percentage of children aging out of foster care? I would say I mean, there are a lot of children who age out of foster care. I would say a rough percentage would be probably, I want to say probably 25, maybe to 30%. 30% may be high, but there are a lot of children who age out of foster care just for the mere fact that no one and I hate to say it like this, but it's the truth. No one wants to adopt older children. We're talking about preferences and reality. The reality is there are a lot of older children that need to be adopted. The preference is to adopt the baby. My parents wanted to adopt the baby. We weren't babies. Okay?
And it's because you develop, like, you have experienced a lot as an older, older kid that, is trying to get adopted. Like, you've seen more,
Mhm.
and that can impact like how you interact with, whoever you're going to be placed with, right? Like,
Mhm.
so you could, like you say, you were angry. There are a lot of kids that, they start to rebel, right? Like, they start to do things that are really trying to get their parents' attention.
Mhm.
Like, how some parents, they'll be like, oh, take this iPad and go in the corner.
Yep.
But that's not what they need. They need somebody, hands on, um, you know, sitting down. Like, we used to color a lot. So my mother, she used to break out the coloring books, and just a lot of hands-on activities that. But back then, we didn't have all these electronic devices either, so it's a totally different time too. So I will attribute it to that. We didn't have cell phones and computers and iPads and all that stuff that can
Yeah.
distract you, right? It can take away from what the what the parents really should be doing is giving that one-on-one time, right? So they can actually um, bond, with you. Because that's how you, like, when you grow up, that's how you get to reminisce and think about, oh man, I remember when I used to, you know, watch cartoons and my mother used to be, baking chicken or,
Right.
whatever the case may be, right? Like, so it's, you know, I think it's people need to get back to that type of parenting, really hands on.
Well, I know that adoption agencies and foster care agencies, especially adoption agencies, the number one thing that they tell parents to do is to get their children involved. And my parents did that right away with me and my brother. We both played an instrument and we both were in a sport. Um, I don't see, this is why I wish I had my adoption papers and I wish I read the words for myself, because I'm like, I don't know if it's because we had ADD, ADHD. I don't
Mhm.
know what it was. Like, but they definitely didn't want us to be stationary. And I don't think any kid should be, stationary. Like you said, you got to, it has to, it got to be more than this technology age of here's your phone, here's your iPad. Like, there has to be some type of involvement. Um, the danger with that is you will put your child in a sport or have them play an instrument or whatever the case may be, because the social workers told you to, and you're still not getting to know your child. Again, I believe that foster care is like dating a child. Adoption is like marrying a child. However, only arranged marriages where you don't get to know the person. And again, this is why adoption feels like arranged marriage, especially when you're older. I was older, okay? So I'm just coming from my perspective, y'all. Don't get at me, okay? It felt like an arranged marriage because it's like I don't know you, right? And so even with putting your child in the sport and making them play an instrument or however you keep them busy, you have to get to know that child for that child. You
I
have
got a question for you.
mhm.
How long how long did it take you before you started calling your parents mom and dad?
Mm, I don't remember. I don't think it was a long time. I don't think it was a long time, but my parents were I'm not going to say that they scared us into doing it, cuz that would be wrong. Um, But my parents were strict. Like they didn't take, it was very militant. My mom was actually she served in the military for some years, right? And so it was very strict. And that's why it was traumatic for me as well. Because when I was in foster care, my last foster care home, like my school was literally right across the street. I had friends all around me that lived across the street, around the corner, down the block. I lived in a city, so everything was was close, right? And so when I got adopted, moving into the suburbs, everything was a lot farther, and I didn't know anyone, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything. And I really felt like I was in jail. Like I even wrote about it in college. I had I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I was doing horribly in this history class. I wrote an autobiography and I got to be in the class. I was like, my life allowed me to but I don't remember how long it took. I just remember that my mom saying the social worker told us to call each other mom and dad so that you and your brother could get used to calling us mom and dad. And it wasn't like they was going to pop us in the mouth if we didn't say mom or dad, but I don't remember it taking that long. I think we just respected the house that we were in. Like, you know what I mean? Like we just respected our parents as being our parents. And I don't know. I think I've always respected adults. So it was almost a thing like, okay, like just call them mom and dad. It didn't feel, and I'll be honest, it didn't feel real. It didn't feel necessarily genuine. I always had an issue connecting with my parents. It was always an issue of how do I, and it always, when I was younger, it was like, okay, they were trying to figure out how to connect with me. And as I got older, I felt had a feeling of how do I connect with them, So it's one of those things where I truly believe that you have to know your children for who they are and accept them for who they are, not who just like the parents are like, I'm changing their first name. I don't want you to be a John. I want you to be a Marcus. Right. Like to me, it's like, but my name is John. Leave it at John. Don't change it to Marcus, because now I feel like you're trying to change who I am as a person. So that's how I felt growing up. It was like, all right, well, this is who you are as a little girl, but it's not who we want you to be. We want you to be something else. And I never felt like I could really, truly be my true self, like my real self, because it was like, we got you up out of here, but now you're here and we want you to be like this. We want you to.
Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe when I turned 4 or 5, maybe. I don't know. Because they thought, I couldn't talk at first. Remember I talked about that, was going to a lot of speech therapy, hearing therapy, just to make sure, nothing was wrong. And I think I was just in shock.
That was the body keeping score.
Yeah. I think I was in shock and trying to, make sure, I was safe, because like at that time, you don't know what that is, right? You're just like, okay, in the Twilight Zone.
Seriously, it's really what and it's crazy how, like, again, the body keeps score, but you can't put it together. It's like you're falling, like, you know what I mean? It's not until it wasn't really until I hit college and was learning about psychology and how the mind works and how emotions work and things of that nature, where I was like, hold on, something ain't right. what and it really clicked for me, where it was just like, wow, I don't remember going through these stages. I don't remember feeling this way. I didn't know that parent-child relationship is supposed to be like this. This was the bond that I was missing out on with my biological mom. Like, you really don't learn about those things until you get into those classes and you get that, extended education where you're just like, wow, this is really starting to and then when my sister found me, it was over from there. It was just like you talk about the Twilight Zone. Now it's just like now a different world. We went from the Twilight Zone to a different world because now it's like, okay, now there's more people outside of my adopted family who's my biological family. But how do I even try to mend the two? Do I try and be sisters on the side? Like, like it's a weird freaking dynamic where it's just you're trying to make other people happy, and this is why I the Real Precious has been my YouTube name for a while now, but it's just like I got tired. I just wanted to be me for me, and not having other people have these expectations for me. Like I just want to be me for me and not have anyone expect anything from me. That's why, I always talk about, genuine love is when somebody just don't expect anything out of you. And sometimes even with adoption, even though these people are here to love you, they're still expecting something out of you. They're expecting for you to fulfill something for them. And it's like, as the adoptee and as the foster child, it's like, when can I rest and you know what I mean, expect for someone? And mind you, adoptive parents, foster parents are there for the children. But when you don't really get to know your child and you want them to be what you want them to be, it stifles them. But they're already stifled because they got a disconnect from their biological family. But then it's just more stifling when you in my case walk into a family like blah blah, here I am, and you got people looking at you. You got people like, oh, they got the kids now. The kids are with them now, and they didn't have kids last family reunion, and like it's almost like you're a science project. Like people just looking at you, kind of like, oh, do they fit in? And
not a science project.
Because and then as you get older and you learn about certain things, and we're really going to cover that in the last video, so y'all stick around, please. But when you learn about what your parents went through and then you take it all in, it brings your mind to questions. You have questions, right? Like, what was the meaning of all of this? What is the true meaning of all of this? But like I said, we'll definitely get to that in the last video. I do see more people in the chat, so I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for engaging. Let me see. So Precious, you were with a foster family before being adopted to another family. Yes. I was with 4 foster families altogether. So I wasn't, just adopted. I was in multiple foster families before I got adopted. So I was the adoptee that, just had a life before I was adopted. It was also traumatic for me getting adopted because that life before adoption was never acknowledged. It was never, it just never was. It was almost like, and I told my sister this the other night, I was like, it's almost like when we got adopted, our parents had the Men in Black light. Like, it was like, don't even think, you ain't gonna remember none of that. But the reality is, I do remember it. You know what I mean? It is a part of my life. So, it was hard to let it go. But
I really like that for you. You're able to connect with your siblings, and that's that's something I wish I could have had. Like,
beautiful.
But when you tell stories about, you're talking to your siblings every day, that's awesome. And I really like that, and I wish more people were like that. But like you said, there a lot of times people really they be trying to see what you could do for them, or why are you looking for me now? Like, what's the purpose? So um, it's commendable that you are opening that olive branch and you're allowing them to be in your space, because you don't have to, and they don't have to either. They're reciprocating what you're bringing.
Yeah, it's hard being the oldest of seven. It's hard. Okay, it's hard work because I'm not gonna say that my siblings look at me as our mother because I'm not her, but I'm the oldest sibling. So they're like, all
Hmm.
right, looking to you to, you know what I mean? And it's like I'm the oldest sibling, but y'all niggas old too. Like y'all old, like y'all not. Even though we did just celebrate my youngest brother's birthday. He's 18. Okay, there's generations in between us. He's 18, but we did just spend the weekend in New York. We had a wonderful time, beautiful time. Two of the siblings were not there, but we had an awesome time in New York, spending with him for his birthday. But yeah, it is a blessing to be able to connect and stay in touch with my siblings. Now we don't always get along, y'all. Okay, we still fight and argue like real siblings because that's what we are, even though we weren't raised together. However, the love remains strong. We still come back, apologize. We still get on each other's nerves. We still joke on each other, and we always talk about wondering what it would have been like if we were all raised together. Um, Wondering if we would have came out alive. Chelsea says, I had a friend, Sophie. She got adopted in the second grade. I remember seeing her again after she moved, and her adoptive parents called her Anna. I told her I'm not calling her that. Yeah, I had a sister. I had two siblings whose names were changed. It's just
Oh,
it,
really?
yes, it's just like why? It's just no. It's just like that video that we played where the mother who finally realized that it was a selfish thing that she did. Like years later, she realized it was a selfish thing that she did, changing her kid's name. And it's like, we already are stripped of everything that we came in this world with. Like our name too. Like,
Hmm.
come on. But it's
Yeah,
confusing.
that's one thing I would not do. Like if I was to adopt a kid, I definitely would not change their name. Like that's their given name for a reason, right? Like so, um, like you, I think you brought it up a couple weeks ago. Like, can you imagine writing your name, whatever your name is for
Damn
the first
Tommy.
9 years, and
Damn
then all of
Billy.
a sudden, all of a
Like,
sudden your name is Annie.
right. Like I can understand the last name because it's legal,
Hmm.
but the first name it's I don't know. I think it's really cruel. I think it's really cruel to do that, just like I think it's cruel to send foster children out with a black plastic bag full of their belongings. And that is starting to change because there are a lot of organizations and adoption organizations who are starting to realize that children are human and they should be sent off with regular suitcases or bags, that you know can't rip and tear on the trip there. Okay, like
Mm,
the changing of the first names is something that I believe should also be changed. That
that should be a law.
you
Like that
should
should
be
be,
able to change their
yeah,
first names.
that
Um,
should be in adoption. Like you can't change the name. No.
yeah, it's cruel in my opinion, because to have a name for 12 years and then somebody come in and be like, oh no, I don't want that to be your name anymore. It's just horrible. It's just
It's
people
selfish.
people don't think about the true feelings of children because at this point you have ownership over them and that's exactly how you operate. And
Hmm.
children don't forget things like that. Children don't forget the constant comments or murmurs about certain things. And so adults really have to watch how they handle children and how they go about raising and maturing their children.
Yeah, because like for example, if could you imagine like being in school and all your friends calling you, Michelle, and then all of a sudden you'd be like, "That's not my name anymore." They'd be like, "What?"
Child, you could be out here committing crimes. That ain't my name. That ain't my name. I don't know who you talking about. I didn't do that. Like, it's just crazy. It's almost like you're teaching people how to dip and dodge. Like, let me just change my name.
And then like, yeah, like I couldn't imagine being around a bunch of kids and then tell them, "Oh, that's not my name anymore."
And
They'd
they
be like,
look
"What
at
do you mean? You could
huh?
just change? You could change your name like that? Like, how did I do
Right.
that?"
Mom, can I change my name? No, child, that's what I named you. It's crazy. It's comical. It's sad. It's just everything wrapped up into one, because the child is left to figure it out if they don't have parents who are compassionate enough to
Mm,
make room and space for their emotions. And I think in adoption and foster care, you have to make space for emotions. If you have zero tolerance for making space for emotions, don't adopt. Adopt a dog, a cat, a reptile, a bird. I don't know. Just don't adopt children. Don't do it. If you can't hold space for their emotions, you are not set out to be a good parent to even your own children.
mhm.
It ain't even an adoption type of thing. You just don't have children at all whatsoever. Coach Ferg is in the building. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for being here. Hope to see you tomorrow. I would give them my last name, but you would have to give them your last name, but teach them where they come from as time goes. They owe me nothing but to be a good person in life. Yes, they would automatically take, if you were to adopt, they will automatically take on your last name. They would also take on any type of inheritance that's in the family. But that first name is just, is sad. The only reason I can think of changing the name is a protective custody situation. I agree too. But even in that, it's almost like I'd rather you just move. Just move. I mean, if you're supposed to be protecting me, let's move. Let's get up out of here. Like,
Well, that's the reason for sealed adoption. That
right.
is the general purpose
Closed. Yeah.
um, of a sealed, closed adoption is because it's actually illegal to contact somebody until they turn of age. Like you can't have any contact. And so, I don't know. I actually seen a article where they were talking about actually getting rid of like sealed adoption
Mm.
because of um like because you actually have to write to the state to actually get your paperwork. Like you can't just get it, right? Like you
You
can't
had to pay
just
for it too.
yeah. So um it's I think sealed adoptions are good, but I think that you should at least not have to pay for them because like why do I gotta pay to see who I am?
Because you ain't Billy no more. You Tommy. You ain't Leon no more. You
You
Mark.
got no job, Tommy.
Closed adoptions. How do I feel about? I wasn't always a fan of. I feel like closed adoptions should only be the case, and I don't even know if it should be fully closed, because if it's fully closed, it does it. I don't know. I think that taking a child away from their biological roots altogether, I can see if mom
Hmm.
get it together. Um, However, there are still people in that family who love you. There are still you will still have cousins and aunts and uncles who will, be inquiring about you and wondering about you. Like my aunt that saw me on Facebook when I changed my last name to my biological last name. My dad was so mad when I did that. Like, why? Now, mind you, I'm in my 20s. Like, I'm out the house. I'm not living there anymore. And a lot of people had thought I got married. And they're like, what's this last name? Like, why do you have this last name on your Facebook? And someone had given me the idea, like, why don't you just change your last name on Facebook to your biological last name? And that way, if any family is looking for you, they'll find you. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, the lady that I have a picture of in my life book is the one who reached out to me on Facebook. God, like, you can't tell me that God is not real, but it's like, I don't think that it should fully be closed, but I think that there should be some type of clauses, huge milestones when the child turns, 15 or 16, 18, they're allowed to receive, letters that you don't have to mail them to my house. You can mail them to the agency. You can mail them to the foster care worker or somewhere that is a mutual ground that it will get to me. But I don't believe that adoption should be fully closed. I feel like there should be some type of interaction, because honestly, with adoption, foster care, all of that, there should be no competition. Like, it should not be, well, she's mine now, and she will never belong to you because I adopted her. And mind you, I'm like these people that you're telling me should never want to contact me or see me again. Yet I'm having such the hardest time adjusting to you. I wonder why, right? And so there should be some type of, like you called it earlier, a little bit of a bridge that allows the child to still be attached to their biological family, but still know that it was best for them to be placed with another family. I just don't think that your biological family should be cut out the equation altogether, and you have no way of reaching them until you reach an age of being able to find them. And that's if you can do that. Like, you know what I mean? God forbid your name is changed. God forbid they steal your records and you're never able to access them. They just unsealed them in Jersey a couple of years ago. So it was only up until a couple of years ago where I was able to file to get my adoption papers. And again, I had to pay for them.
How much did you have to pay?
I don't even remember.
I think in Michigan, it's like
$50. I don't think it was any more than $50.
Yeah, I think in Michigan is like between $65 and $85. I think.
Yeah, I don't. I was so eager to get them. I don't even remember. Take my money. I don't know. I don't remember. But I do remember reading through it, and honestly, it. I don't know if I even got what I was really looking for, to be honest with you. It pretty much just said I was adopted. Like, it didn't even say. One day I'm gonna have to look for it. I know it's in this vicinity of my desk area, but I'm not quite sure where I tucked it away at.
Yeah, because I've been emailing a lady at the state of Michigan, and I was asking her, like, what information is actually going to be in there? Like, what am I actually paying for? Am I seeing like the real deal, or is it just telling me like what my blood type is and what
Not even. It's literally just a sealed, and I think I got 2 copies of it. It was a paper with a seal, pretty much that says, my name and was adopted by my parents' name. It was literally like
a certificate
long. Like, it wasn't. It didn't tell me nothing I didn't know already. Pretty much, it was like I gave them the money for them to be like, yeah, you adopted, right? Like, that's pretty much how it went with that paper. And I was just like, did I file for the right thing? Am I so much older now that maybe that paperwork doesn't exist anymore? Because I want to see the adoption papers on the transition of being in foster care and then adopted. I don't want to see the court sealed adoption saying that I was adopted. Excuse me. I know that already. I wanted to see, what were my behaviors? What what are the things that I don't remember that I can read on paper to bring back to remembrance is what I wanted to see. But I that paperwork just definitely didn't. That paperwork was like, girl, you adopted.
Yeah, I seen some paperwork. I don't even know where it is anymore, but it basically was telling me like it was like letters and stuff in there. It was basically saying like why I was adopted and what happened. And I'm wondering if I'm going to get that information again or if that's not even going to be like a part of this package, like like you said, just a piece of paper telling you these are,
These
you were adopted this date and,
that's pretty much what mine was. One day I'll pull it out and I'll send you the screenshots, but it's really nothing like spectacular. I'm like, maybe I filed for the wrong paperwork. I don't know.
mm,
Best interest of the child should come first, just like kids whose parents are divorced. I do agree with that. But divorce don't mean dead. So, you still gotta have some type of as long as the father or the mother, whichever one it is not physically, harming, or it's not an environment where, there's drugs and things and, things of that nature around. um there still has to be some relationship. It just has to be monitored. It has to be, it has to go through mediation, or it has to go through a third party in order for it to take place. But it doesn't mean that it shouldn't take place just because parents are divorced. um Children need both of their parents, like they just do. And honestly, trying to shield a child from a parent that you feel as though is bad, or you feel shouldn't have a relationship with their child, is not a reason to keep your child from that parent. Children need both parents, period.
I agree.
I mean, both parents show their child so many different sides and facets of what it is to be a man, or what it is to be a woman, or what it is to be a wife, or what it is to be a mother, what, like, a husband, a father, a coach, you just see so many different dynamics within having. And you're divorced, so you're apart. So even being apart, you're able to see your parents and their and all of their glory or lack thereof. However,
Mm,
you shouldn't keep that from the child, because the child should know the real parent and not the parent that the other parent don't want you to see. Like, you know what I mean? When there's a divorce, you have both parents going back and forth saying things about each other, and just let your child experience, like Gabor said, children experience their parents in different ways. It's not about the love that's given, it's about how they experience the parent. So it does give the bio parent's name, because I have no info at all. I know that when I was adopted, I got a life book. And in my life book, which is here, I don't think you could see it last time. Oh, you can see it better this time.
mm-hmm.
In my life book that was given to me when I was 8, when I got adopted, it does have my mom's name. So that, like, there are no last names in here, but of course, first names, my siblings' names, my father's name, my mom's children, which are my siblings, all of their names. And what's crazy is there are 2 that are not in here because they weren't born yet. I need to elongate this piece of paper and add. It gives like the story of why. Oh, now the story
It's
of
that overlay. Yeah.
so pretty much saying, your mom had an issue with abusing drugs, and they tried to help her. They tried to, give her resources. It just didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Places that I've lived. Now, it don't have addresses. It's funny how they keep certain things out of the book. Because as you get older, you're gonna be like, wait, hold on, let me look up that, because as an adoptee, you become a investigator by nature. By nature. You just
Yeah.
become an investigator by nature.
So Reaper if you're comfortable, like you can do a DNA test, and if you do, I did ancestry DNA. Like I didn't do 23andMe.
I did ancestry too.
And it'll like if anyone has in your family has done an ancestry DNA test, it will show up. Maybe one day we can show up, like pull up our profiles and show what it actually looks like.
I wouldn't mind doing a giveaway. Y'all, if anybody has been following me for a while, y'all know I'll do a giveaway real quick. Okay, real quick. And that should be a giveaway that I do on this channel because
Mhm.
I have actually been helping people find their biological families, and I think that is something that everyone should be entitled to. I honestly do. I think that if you have the desire to know where you come from, to know
Mhm.
your siblings, to know your family, you should, because at the end of the day, if you don't, it is going to be something that lives inside of you that you feel as though will die inside of you if it doesn't happen. And we always talk about not going in with any expectations. Okay, don't go in with any expectations. However, just the moment in time for itself would be a blessing for you. It would be an answered prayer for you.
Mhm.
God is in the business of answering prayers. Okay, so we're gonna have to do that. We're gonna have to set that up. I don't know how I'm gonna incorporate it on the show. Maybe next show I'll incorporate it. So watch next week. Come on back. Come on back. So you can be a recipient, because I love giving away literature, because I love giving away knowledge and being able to impart impart in knowledge with you. And I think that um, being able to find your family is something. It's a gift. It's a gift because it's something that's taken away from you, and you just have no control over that. So, in order to gain your control back over your life, it's not over those people who are not telling you or not giving you the truth. Is really for you to know the real you. The
Mhm.
real you. The real you is parts of the real you are walking around here, and you might be walking past them on the street and you just don't know. Like, hey, the real you, okay? Not piece of
Yeah,
you, the real you.
and I will say it will bring you so much peace that you didn't even realize you needed.
Mhm.
Like, um, walking through life not knowing, you know, who your siblings are, or even like my main reason was to find my parents, to see. I wanted to see who I look like because I don't look like anybody in my family. So I wanted to put eyes on the people that that brought me into this world, and so that's the reason I did it. And so I just believe, like Precious said, that if you have people out here that you're trying to find, um, you should do it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Especially if you have children yourself, um,
Hmm.
that's another reason, because it's like you see an extension of you growing up, and you couldn't imagine them not knowing their family. Um, I have a daughter, and I always, it's almost like I couldn't imagine, she's older than 8 now, but I couldn't imagine her being 8 and then totally leaving me to go live with strangers and having to find me again. Like,
Like that lady we watched on that video where CPS came to her house, and I think that was last week, right? We watched that video
which one?
uh,
Hold on.
where CPS came to the lady house and took the baby from her. They was
Yeah, and
arguing.
that was baby. I'm just saying, like, I was adopted at 8, so I couldn't imagine someone taking my 8-year-old daughter and just leaving and saying, we're gonna have to take her, or whatever the case may be, and her having to find her way back to me years later. It's just, I always think about that. I always think about also how blessed she is to know about the adoption and foster care world, but not have had to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
I love that for her. All right, so we're gonna hop into the last video. I had another video, but we're gonna get into this last video because I know this last video we're gonna be here maybe for another hour. I need some rest tonight. Okay, because I know tomorrow we probably gonna be on here for a few hours too. However, I did want to play this video because I saw it on Kendra G, and y'all, I know y'all see Kendra G in these YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. She has her own dating app now. She is blowing up. She, a lot of people know her from Kevin Samuels when Kevin Samuels had her on his show. A lot of people just know her as a radio host. She was a radio host in Philly for a little bit. People know her for, in different settings, but now she has her own thing going on, and she has a singles live where people call in. They call in to be on pretty much a FaceTime with Kendra and the world. Kendra asks them a host of questions in order for them to find a love interest and possibly someone that they could spend the rest of their lives with. And so, you scrolling, and I follow Kendra, so her content does come up on my feed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm scrolling one day and I see this video, and he talks about adopting a boy. So I'm like, oh great, we're gonna use this as content. And child, it just
Went left.
I had to send it to Leon to be like, Leon, you good, because I don't want to just we don't rehearse these videos. I come with the content. Leon comes on stage with his presence, and he dives into these topics with me. So it's not like we discussed this prior, but this one, I said I'm gonna have to get some permission. Okay, because I don't know what the comfort level is gonna be. But I want to talk about this because yes, this man is adopting a child, but is hold on, let me see the question but we got to be sensitive. We got to be sensitive with this topic. Okay. Can he really focus on the needs of his new son? Okay. So that's going to be my question. Can he really focus on the needs of his new son? There we go. Let me see if it's going to scroll to the bottom. I don't want it to, no, I don't want it to do that. All right. I'm going to put the video up here, and I'll mess around with the banners a little later.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. We got a full house tonight. Where you calling me from, Travis?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Charlotte, North Carolina. You already know.
Oh Lord.
I'm about to do it. North Carolina, throw your hands up. Take your shirt
Take the
off.
shirt
And do the
off.
hokey pokey, North Carolina.
Where's Kendra talking about? Do the hokey pokey.
Throw your hands up. All right, Travis, how old are you?
I'm 41.
41. North Carolina. You have any kids?
I do. I have a 14-year-old. I've had him 3 years. I'm about to adopt him.
A 14-year-old that he's had for 3 years that he's about to adopt. So 3 years. So 14. So what's that, 11?
Mm-hmm.
Had him since he was 11.
Oh, so your 14-year-old, do you have any biological kids too?
I don't.
Okay. Well, that's nice that you're about to adopt a child.
It's always so nice. So nice. You're so nice. You're so nice.
Have you ever been married?
I have not.
You have not. Okay. And what's your zodiac sign?
Aquarius.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a route driver.
Never. And a what driver?
A route driver, trucker.
So he's about to adopt a teenager that he's had for 3 years. But he's a truck driver, and we all know that truck drivers are on the road.
Route driver. All right. So we got Travis, 41, Aquarius, North Carolina, about to adopt a 14-year-old child. No biological kids, but this will be his child. Never married and is a route driver. What kind of woman are you looking for, Travis?
Looking for a dude
You done lost your damn mind. When you get your damn mind, you call me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
Did y'all hear that in the chat? Did y'all hear did y'all I'ma just
Looking for a dude.
and it's the way he said it too.
I don't even want to repeat.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, keep saying you sorry. Keep
I'm sorry.
Oh my God. They say
Yeah.
I have the worst gaydar. Okay, I think they didn't know. Okay, they didn't know either. They didn't know either. Let me go to your page. Is it on your page? Yep. Ooh, you got the picture with the dog. You and the dog got matching pajamas? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's real. Yeah, you gay.
how Kendra said, well, once you confirm it, I can confirm it.
You gay. You gay. When you and the dog got matching pajamas, he looking for a dude. Can I ask you a question? Have you been, this is going to sound crazy, but have you been gay your whole life or did you
So,
come out at a certain age?
so pretty much I was um
Aw.
by a family member, and in my mind it was pretty much like, okay, I thought that was the way, but at the same sense, you know what I'm saying, with I did explore women growing up, and it was just the situation to where, hey, it wasn't me. You know what I'm saying? Women are beautiful. I'm not gonna sit there and lie, but at the end of the day, you know, it wasn't never. It was confirmed that, and I guess because I was introduced to it prior to a woman, if that makes sense.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry you went through that.
Uh-huh.
So do you feel as though that's what made you attracted to men or do you
All right. We don't. He just talking about why he's where he's at now. And there was only like 2 seconds left. I just cut it off early. So
Ninja, you gay. What are we even talking about? No. But serious.
there's a lot going on.
But serious
Okay.
though, like
And
he's a truck driver. That's my main. I want to make a point here. If he's not local, who gonna be taking care of that kid? And why would they even allow him to adopt his child unless he has a plan? Like, but we don't know that.
you
We
got no
don't.
plan. He on Kendra G. Most people on Kendra G ain't got no plan.
No, what I'm saying is, maybe he has like resources, like maybe his mom or maybe his, sister, or we don't know, like if he has those type of support, right? Like so, but if he doesn't, like, why would the adoption agency even consider that? Like, what are we even talking about?
I I I honestly think that those who want to adopt and have been sexually assaulted, they need extensive therapy. Like when I say extensive therapy, I think that should be on a questionnaire or in the packet or a part of the research or a part of the details about this family. Y'all see how I got this book on my biological family? I didn't get no book on these people who wanted to adopt me. I didn't get a book on your history and who you are, but I got a book on people that I'm not allowed to talk to. I got a book on places that I live that I'm never allowed to go back to. Yet I don't get a book telling me that you've been sexually assaulted and this is a trauma that you've gone through. I think that's
Yeah, and then he thought that was normal. Like
right.
he thought that was what people did, and but I think when people go through that, I think that's a mind, something in their mind. They think, it's
Right.
normal,
But
and it's not.
right, but adopting a child is not going to make that go away. It's not going to erase the hands of time.
Mhm.
Not going to, if you don't get extensive therapy, is not going to change your mind and your sexual preferences and your psychology behind, because this 13-year-old has been with you for 3 years. We don't know what he's been exposed to as far as your sexuality, but now you're on a dating show where the world can see, the world does not forget, the internet does not forget. And so now you as an adopted child not only have to go through being with a single male who is gay, who has been molested, sexually assaulted, uh,
Mhm.
but you're also now getting into the world of the internet where this is now going to be something that is played forever and ever and ever. How does one get past the process of adoption without this being a serious um uh thought behind, is he ready to adopt a child? Is he a suitable parent for a teenage boy? Is sexuality even disclosed when you're talking about wanting to adopt a teenage boy? It's just so many different loopholes that make you feel like, what is the process for adopting a child in the US? Because that type of trauma, I think sexual assault is a trauma that you do not really ever get over. I think it's something that you're reminded of all the time. And so to now have a child be introduced to that, to me is negligence. To me is negligence, because you want a child to heal from adoption, but you don't want a parent to heal from their trauma. So now we just mixing all the trauma. Now we
Mhm.
just a big pot of trauma. I don't know. I don't know. I don't
That's
I
trauma dumping on top of each other.
Yes. And why is that something that the adoption agencies are okay with? Or, like I said, is there not a book on their trauma? Is there not documentation on their what happened in their past? Because the children just have to accept that they'll never see their family again, they'll never be connected to them again, and now you're being put with strangers who have their own trauma. And because of their own trauma, there are a lot of moments and times where they can't be all that you need them to be, because they can't even be all that they need them to be as whole people in society, because they haven't
Mhm.
healed. So when I saw this, I'm like, people really don't understand that just because people adopt don't make their lives better. It makes it different. I think a lot of people really need to, oh, you're gonna adopt a boy. That's so nice. No, it's different. It's real different. It's different. That doesn't make a child's life better because they got adopted. It just makes their life different. And a lot of people will say, oh, without my adopted parents, even we say it. We don't know where we will be. We don't know, all of that X, Y, and Z. But it didn't make our lives better in a sense. It just literally just made it different. My life is different because I got moved to one place than it was when I was at another place. It didn't necessarily make it better. I don't know what it would have been like if I would have stayed there. I can't even say that it would have been bad. It just would have been different. And I think with this teenager coming into a situation of, we're already in 2026 where men want to be women, men want to take the women's the trophies and X, Y, and Z. Like, you just don't know what you're introducing this child to, on top of you being someone that was sexually abused, and if you're not fully healed from your trauma, God knows what that child is going to go through because of your unresolved trauma.
Yeah, because back to like, why did he? First of all, what is the adoption agency doing in North Carolina? Like, we we need to figure that out, because unless he's been through extensive therapy to actually address this, um, I don't think, yeah, adopting a kid ain't gonna change what you've been through.
It's
That's
not.
not gonna make it no better, you know. So like when you know, and then he's like, oh, well, like what is the purpose of this? Like, is he going on here trying to get attention, or is he going on here, actually um trying to find somebody? But like he really shouldn't be on there. Like he should be worried about how he's going to take care of the kid.
Child, if I was his son, I'd be like, send me somewhere else. Like, send me somewhere else. Because it's just even that. Like, it's just, you going on here for love, and everybody deserves love, right? But at the same time, you're not realizing how embarrassing this could be for the child that you're going to adopt. Now, of course, he has accepted you because you're providing a roof over his head. Remember, back in it, like we weren't forced to call them mom and dad, but at the end of the day, they were doing the mom and dad things, and so we respected them as such, right? And so
Hmm.
he respect you as such, but at the same time, those who know you, those who know his face, and know that you've been with him for the last 3 years, are gonna now the murmuring, the talking behind the back, the just more trauma added onto this 13-year-old who either this 13-year-old is someone who's in his family and he's adopting him because something may have happened to his mom and or
Hmm.
dad, or this is a complete stranger that that was probably going to age out and needed an adopted situation, so
Hmm.
they didn't age out of the foster care home. Either way, they're at such a vulnerable age of finding out and discovering who they are as teenagers. Teenagers is the time where the hormones is running wild, crazy.
Hmm.
So, I to me, it's not always, oh, that's so nice that you're adopting him. It's not always, oh my God, you're doing something that other people wouldn't do. Now, is he being open and honest and transparent? Hot, as I say, being honest, open, and transparent. Yes, he is doing that, but at the same time, he is leaving too much open for those to speculate, especially with him adopting and telling that story. My thing is, did you tell a therapist? Were you this honest, open, and transparent with someone who could truly transform the way that you're thinking about life, the way that you're thinking about yourself, the way that you're thinking about others, because that is all impacted when someone forcefully does something to you.
Hmm.
Impacts how you think about life, how you think about yourself, and how you think about others. And if you're not having these extensive conversations with therapists, not a husband that you're looking for ain't going to do it. A child isn't going to do it. A family member isn't going to do it. It's going to be God and that person that intervenes as your therapist, your coach, your mentor, someone that is going to go through the emotional trenches with you to really get you to a level of emotional regulation where you don't actually hate yourself, because that's a lot of time that's what happens when people get into those situations where things are taken by force. They get into a funk of hating themselves. They get into a funk of, I'm not, what was it about me? And you know I just I saw it and I was like, wow, I didn't see it going there. Now, if he would have said, now the thing is though, if he would have said, oh, if she said, well, what kind of woman you looking for, and he would have been like 5'5", brown eyes, thick thighs, like, you know what I mean? If he would have went off like that, it would have been like we wouldn't have speculated, right? Even though again, just because a child is getting adopted don't mean that their life is better. It just means that it's different. So there still would have been me as the adoptee of, okay, there's still going to be things that, that are not talked about that we should talk about and blah, blah, blah. But when you go off the ledge and say you looking for a him, and then these things that you have that you have experienced, in your life, it's almost like you don't need to be talking to Kendra G, especially if you have an adoptee in the interim, right? You need to be talking to a therapist. And that's my problem that I had with this video. Like who you like, love who you love, be with who you want to be with, but don't bring a child into a situation until you are, you are truly and fully healed. Do we know if he went to a therapist? Do we know if he's healed or not? No. But the perception that it gives off, and because we bring awareness to adoption and foster care, I'm going to speak on it. I can't say that he's never been to therapy. I can never say that, he's not healed. But the way that it comes off and the way that he delivered the message was, I'm about to adopt my 13-year-old, son, who is now going to be my son. And I'm looking for love. And I want it to be a him. And it's like, all right, saying all that in one breath is a lot, sir. It's a lot. It is a lot.
Yeah, because like, what is what is his intentions, or like what did he? Yeah, you said that you're gonna adopt somebody, but like, is that just to hide like what you actually going through? What you experienced. Um, and like Mo said, everything ain't for the internet.
Okay.
Everything ain't should be disclosed, or like you don't have to say certain things. You could just be like, he could just say, oh, I don't want to talk about it, or I'll pass, or just made up something. Like because now that kid, if he ever got wind of that video, the internet's forever. So like, what are we even talking about?
Yep, everything ain't for public consumption, especially if it ain't to help someone else, right? And of course over here we're spreading it, and it's going further. However, it just speaks to how people aren't putting the needs of the adoptive child first, right? Like it's yes, you're adopting a child, but you're also you're looking for love on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And you should be worried about making sure your home and your well-being and your emotional well-being and your psychological, like all of that's intact for this child that you are going to be adopting. And because the internet is forever, this is something that he's not going to be able to get away from either. It's not even just about the child, but he's not going to be able to get away from it. But also because we're in 20, he said he was what, like 41 or something like that. 40. He's
Something
in
like that. Yeah.
40s, right? So he's definitely been in this world before social media. So the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, if you could adopt a child that's not yours and be in this position to adopt, why can't you date and find love the old-fashioned way? Like, you know what I mean? Why you're already putting your business on Front Street. Now you have your soon-to-be son's business on Front Street. Why I don't know. I don't know what be in people's brains when they go ahead and hit that live button with Kendra G. I don't even know if I can even question it, because people just do the craziest things when it comes to love, honestly, nowadays, because it's no longer a sacred, I'm going to take my route. Is there a dating show online? I don't have to pay a matchmaker, and I don't have to. I'm just going to do it. and you have to realize how it's going to affect those around you, especially those people that you bring into the conversation. He could have just kept it at, I don't have any biological children, but I'm caring for a child or something, like I don't know, kept it real cute and short. But he went into the details of a lot, and it opens up one's brain to think, I hope that he's healed from what he just explained that he went through. Because to prefer a man over a woman because of what you went through, to me, still shows that there's a lot of damage there. God didn't create it to be that way.
Not
I'm
at all.
not knocking whoever is that way. I'm just saying that there are reasons you choose to be that way. And a lot of the reasons that you know having that sexual orientation, a lot of those reasons stem from hurt. They stem from trauma. They stem from not being seen. They stem from someone not being hands on in the emotional well-being of who you are. It stems from not feeling like you're enough. It stems from a lot of negativity. It doesn't just stem from, this is who I am and I was born this way, like it or not. No, there's a lot that had to happen for you to develop that attitude of, I don't care what you think, because you didn't care what I thought. So I'm just going to do whatever I want to do, and you're going to be okay with it. There's a lot of people who are in the community who have become very confident in who they are because others weren't confident in who they were before this, orientation, or the way that they identify. It comes from hurt, pain, and people don't realize that. And so that's what I saw, and that's what I heard when I saw that video on Kendra G. We all know Kendra G just have anyone out the woodwork come on her show. But I don't think I've ever heard anyone on her show. And of course, we're talking about adoption. We're bringing these conversations up. I don't think I've ever heard anyone on her show ever speak about adoption or foster care until him.
I don't think so either.
I don't think I've ever heard it, ever.
And I've watched Kendra for the last couple years, people reviewing it, and um, I don't think I ever heard anything like that either.
I've never heard of anyone adopting kids or anything. It's always, women who can't count how many kids they had, leave one out. You don't think the oldest is a child anymore. Like, you hear about all the foolery, but you don't hear about something like this. And a lot of people will look at this and they would just take the sexual orientation and be like, oh, child, he looking for a man. And I knew he was looking for a man. You could tell. I was reading some of the comments. You could tell the way his lips curl and da-da-da. I ain't seen none of that. I was caught by surprise when he said it. Like, I really was. But to me, it's not about that. It's about the needs of the child. And if the parent doesn't feel like they were able to get their needs met, there's no chance that you can be a parent that can meet the needs of a child that's not biologically yours. So that those thoughts have to, that fairy tale or that fantasy that you have in your brain and your mind about that, like, well, my needs didn't get met, so I know that I'm going to do everything in my power to meet their needs. It don't work like that. You have to be a complete, whole, full human being to show up for a child who's not biologically yours, because they're going to come with their own basket of needs. And if yours weren't met, and if you went through trauma and you weren't truly healed and gotten the help or had the resources to navigate through that, a child isn't going to fix that. A child isn't going to come in and distract you from that. A child is actually going to illuminate that in your life, just like a spouse does that. Okay, you don't just get married and the spouse turns everything around. No, your spouse is to come in to be a mirror to you of who you are, who you could be, who you like. It illuminates everything. It doesn't change anything. It amplifies it. It blows it up. And the children do the same exact thing. Children are not going to, they don't come in as a distraction. They don't come in as things to take your mind off of other things. Does that happen? Yes. However, when you ignore those other things and continue to sweep those other things underneath the rug, the child is only going to get bigger, have more opinion, have more feelings, and they're going to amplify these things that you're trying to run from, because they're people, they learn, they're getting education, and they looking like something ain't right. Something just ain't right. And you can only hide it, oh, but for so long from children.
Yeah, maybe he think because the kid is 14 and only got a few more years before they go off to college, I'm assuming, right? Or whatever they plan to do. And maybe he figure he could play the game for a little bit. But I mean, adoption don't end just because you turn 18. Like,
Okay, not it don't end when you turn 20, 30, 40, like it don't end. It don't end. You're adopted till you die. And it's not necessarily always because people don't live forever, right? So at some point your adoptive parents will pass on and go to glory, right? So it's not even that adoption lasts forever as far as the connection between you and your parents, because we do leave this earthly dwelling. Adoption is forever in the sense of there will always be things we don't know. There will always be truths that are not revealed to us. There will always be
mm-hmm,
feelings and thoughts. That's adoption. Adoption is sitting in the seat of a child who was taken away from their biological roots and placed in another family where they have to figure out who they are and their identity within this family. A lot of people, when children get adopted, the adoption agency, oh, they'll adapt, they will come around, they will, and the adopted family mold, tries to mold the child to who they want the child to be, not realizing that the child already has their own identity. You just have to have that intimacy with your child. And when I say intimacy, into me, see into the child that you're adopting. See into them. Don't try to mold them into what you want them to be, because it's never gonna. They're already. There's already a disconnect between you. So literally trying to mold a child into what you want them to be is telling a child that you don't want me to be me. You want me to be who you want me to be, and children pick up on that. I don't think. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe parents don't remember when they were children. I don't know. I don't know. They're so far removed. Children are the closest to God. They feel intent. They feel the raw emotion. They feel it. They don't ignore it. They don't, they don't act like it's not there. They know it's there. And
yeah,
so parents need to act accordingly, and really go back to that childish frame of mind of how a child thinks and how they feel and how they, work through all that.
I think it's a bigger undertaking than people realize when they adopt kids.
Oh,
Um, when you look at, I can just look back on my life and I look at um, like how I was growing up. My mother especially, she really spent a lot of time with me, like really trying to get me to open up, and really, 'cause there was a long time I didn't um, go outside and play with the kids. It was because um, that security that I didn't feel. Um, and I think that would be a good show to do where you talk about the different phases of adoption that a kid's body experiences. Um, because I don't think people realize what stages you go through when you're adopted. Um, and I was actually reading about this the other day, and um, now that I look back on it, it makes sense, right? Like, so when I look back on a lot of the mannerisms that I had, or like it makes a lot of sense now. But like when I was going through it, I'm like, Twilight Zone, right?
Right.
is is really it's interesting when you look back and you think about all of the things that you experienced or did, to really get to where you are now, right? Like, so we're on YouTube talking about it, right? Like, so, but it's interesting when you read about the different stages of what you go through as being adopted.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of adoptees, because a lot of adoptees don't verbally speak about it and they literally just feel it, they just keep the feelings inside of them.
Hmm.
They're not freeing themselves up to be able to have those conversations and then fully feel those feelings, because I feel like in order to truly feel a feeling, the only way to get to the end of something is to actually go through it. And that's what needs to happen with our words, through our mouth. That our words have to come through our mouth in order to truly feel and go through those emotions. And we'll definitely do a show on the different phases that adoptees go through, in regards to feelings, um,
Hmm.
just physical demeanor, because like I said, the body keeps score, and we don't realize, like, we don't give it a we don't attribute it to anything. It's just like, oh, that's just how we are. And it's like, no, we're that way because there was a biological break. And when you got adopted, when I got adopted, we started out at a deficit. Like when my
Hmm.
daughter was born, she ain't started out with no deficit with me. We we was rocking since day one, same day. Like we in there, right? Same day. You weren't born on unto me with loss, right?
Hmm.
You gained on that day. I gained a daughter, she gained a mother. But when you are adopted, the adoptee truly start. I don't care if you were adopted at 2 days old,
Hmm.
okay? You are still starting off in a negative, because you are having this major break in your biological framing, in your biological framework of who you are as a person.
Hmm.
So I don't think that adoptive parents truly dive into that part of adoption. And then you had my behind, like I went through a few homes. So I lost one home, kept went to another one, lost that one, went to another one, lost that one. So it's like I truly, like, if I'm not feeling you, if I'm not, you gotta understand. I've been through some stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
don't push me because I'm close to the edge. Like, right? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, like, those are things that we talk about. We have the conversation because we've actually lived it and been through it,
Hmm.
experience experience the non training that adoptive parents don't get. They get
Hmm.
all the textbook answers of how to help them adapt and how to get them involved and call each other mom and dad, but it's not, they can't get the hand on experience of who is Michelle. I know that I'm helping, I'm part of this process of her getting adopted,
Hmm.
and I know that I can tell them to put her in a sport and she may have, this issue or that issue. And if they keep her involved, maybe the issues will go away. But even that person doesn't even know me intimately. They know what was written on a paper. So, when you're being handed off to the adoptee, I mean, to the adoptive parents, it is up to the adoptive parents to get to know you as a child. Again, not the child that they want you to be. not the child that they racing home to show to their family, the child that you already are, because you came into this world with identity.
Mm-hmm.
And with adoption and foster care, it erases that. And no shade to the adoptive parents, because they come in wanting to love, wanting to nurture, wanting to do the best for their children. Of course, like I yeah, there are some sickos out there, but for the most part, adoptive parents come in wanting to do the right thing. So it's not a ding against them, their genuine feelings of wanting to give children love. It's not that at all. But there are some things that you're ignorant to out of the eagerness to be a parent, that you're not actually seeing the children in front of you. You're seeing them with your eyes, but you're not seeing them with your heart. You're not seeing them with your compassion. You're not seeing them, with the things that they truly need. Do they need?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Do they need food? Yes. But at the end of the day, can they get that from anywhere and still be able to survive? Yes. It takes special people to actually see them for who they are and accept them for who they are. Because we got to do that either way. Right? We don't have no choice. We don't have a choice. We got to accept you, and we have to, be in it to the wheels fall off. And if we're going to do that, then let's see each other for who we truly are and not who we want each other to be. Right?
So, did you find it hard to understand your parents or to accept them at your age when you were adopted?
I did I find it hard? I felt as though that my parents found it hard to do that with me. I remember them always saying, it's, Michelle doesn't want to connect. She doesn't want to, she doesn't want to bond. She doesn't. But again, I had went through a lot before I got there. In the last foster care home that I was in, I was perfectly fine. Like, when I tell you, it was like you always say, the Twilight Zone. Like, it's just like one day I was living one life, and then another day I was living another life. And we never talked about the trauma that I experienced before being adopted. So when you don't acknowledge that trauma, you're really not acknowledging me as a whole person that I am. So it was almost like my parents didn't connect with me in that way. And that's how I needed them to connect with me. I needed them to connect with me on a level of, you have truly been through a lot. And, we are adopting you because we love you, but we also want to love you for who you are and not for who we want you to be. And I felt like a lot of growing up, it was, you're our kids and you're going to do this and that. And they were parents at the end of the day, right? You're going to do what you're told to do and things of that nature. But it was a lot of going through the motions instead of actually genuinely being emotionally invested in the situation. So I felt like in the adoption, it was like, we're going through the emotions of adoption, but we're not getting into the emotions of adoption. Because the emotions of adoption, the facts are, we went through a lot before we got to this house. And so to just move on as if we were born in this house, or if we were, given to you as babies and start off in this house, is a fallacy. It's a lie. It's not real. It's not real. So I don't think that, I think it was a little bit tough for us to connect, because who we truly weren't really acknowledged. It was just like, all right, that was the past. Let's move on now.
So they basically, like, they were starting off fresh and didn't want to acknowledge that you were happy where you were, but you didn't have a choice, because you don't have a choice.
Right.
You don't have a say. Even though, did the caseworker acknowledge that you were happy there, or what? Like, why would they? I guess why would they send you to somebody who was wanting to adopt when you're already happy, where you're in a safe place where you were?
Because my foster mom, at that time, she had just had a baby. So I
Okay.
think she was ending her foster because she didn't foster after I left. So she was ending her fostering, home
Mm-hmm.
for foster children because she literally had just had her baby.
Oh, okay.
Um, and so that was the situation. She had a
Wow.
biological child, and I was eligible to be adopted. And even that broke my heart because I'm like, I love it here. Where do I leave? Like, like, what you mean? Just keep both of us. Like, you know what I mean? But as a child, again, you do what the adults tell you to do. And so that was even heartbreaking. But I just, like I said, I think it was just no acknowledgement of that. It was no, and there could have been a little bit of, why does she like it there so much and she don't like it here? And instead of diving into that, it was like, we're not even going to talk about, we're not even going to talk about where you loved it because you're not there anymore. Almost. That's what it felt like. And so, it just is what it is. But that's why I had these conversations, because I don't think that my parents had any ill will intent. I think that they really love me and my brother, and we love them as well. But at the end of the day, when you have children, and I don't think, not to my knowledge, I don't think that anybody else in our family is adopted. And so, when you don't surround yourself with people who have done the same thing as you or have gone through the same experiences, you don't know, right? You don't, like, you don't know. So all you have is the word of a social worker. All you have is the word of an adoption agency. Um, and then my parents are huge in the church. So it's, child, just pray about it. Child, the Lord going, and it's like, no. God gave us, minds and education and knowledge and, things out here for us to take advantage of. It's not, I mean, yes, we're supposed to depend on them, but we're supposed to be smart and wise too, right? So I don't think that, like I said, I don't think they had any ill will, or I think it was just we didn't know type of thing. And even to this day, like, I'm always open to have these conversations, always open to have these conversations, to grow, to get to know each other. But when that is not, when the other party doesn't, or is not open to have that conversation, then I have to keep living, right? Like, I have to keep moving on. You can't force anyone to look at themselves, or look at a situation, or be introspective if they choose not to.
So, why do you think that is? Like, maybe when you were growing up, maybe they didn't have the proper tools to really get um like some people. I understand what you're saying. Like, they adopted you. They put clothes on your back. You were fed. You never were. That you were their first thought and all of that. But like, there's still. I understand what you're saying. Like, the emotional part where they maybe they could have got to know you a little bit better, on a personable level, instead of making it like a transaction based type of thing where um you know you are, like, we're the adults.
Right.
You're the kid. You're going to do what we say, and instead of like curating a more softer environment, I guess, maybe, or really trying to get in tune with, like, what you experienced previously, right? Like, so if, or maybe, they should have involved like a therapist where they could all sit down, because sometimes parents don't have the tools to, like, break down or get you to open up where you feel secure enough to open up to them. And I'm just thinking maybe they just didn't have those kind of tools because like when you're in the military, it's so like my dad was in the military too, so I understand what you're talking about. Like he was so
Rich-
rigid. Yeah, yeah, he like look, we on Saturday morning, look, get your butt out of the bed,
mm,
clean up your room.
yep.
Um, we
Clothes.
about to go outside and cut this grass. We about to go clean up this yard. But I will say that all of that, you know, it taught me how to be a hard worker, right? Like it
Oh yeah.
taught me how to take care of myself. You listen, hindsight is 2020, right? You didn't know you're going to need all these tools, all these lessons, all of these hard discussions, or when they tell you no and you be pissed off for 2 days because they ain't let
Yeah.
you.
I went through all that. I heard no more than yes. That's why I'm so, I'm so independent because I heard no more than yes. But to answer your question, growing up and seeing my parents as my parents, I had to see beyond them because it's like, all right, how do we get here? Like, how do we get here, right? And I can't really say that my parents had parents who emotionally invested in them. And so when you don't have parents who emotionally, when I got adopted, it was my mom's mom. I didn't know my mom's father. I don't think he was living. It was my dad's mom who passed away shortly after we got adopted. I remember going to visit her shortly after we got adopted, and then she passed away. So I never knew a grandfather on either side of my mom and dad, which left just the mother, single parents raising my mom and dad, and then their siblings, right? And then you have two parents who adopt children, but they grew up in a single parent home where there's probably trauma, pain, abuse, other siblings that the single parent has to tend to.
Hmm.
So what I chalk it up to is you can't give what you don't have. Like, at some point you got to stop looking for things from people that they don't have it. It ain't there. It's like going to rob a bank and ain't no money there. Don't go there. You know what I mean? It's not going to profit you anything, right? And so I took that into consideration. It's like, I know, what the dynamic was on my mom's side and her relationship with her parents, and that was what it was, and it was traumatic, very traumatic. My dad's side, I don't know much about my dad's side of the family. I asked him what his father's name was, and I was told we don't speak about him. And I was like, I can't even know a name. It's okay. Like, so that told me a lot. A lot of times when people aren't telling you things, they're telling you things. And like I said, kids don't stay kids forever. So as I became older and an adult, I realized that you don't even have it to give because nobody gave it to you. So that's why I always say that just because children are adopted, it don't mean that they're adopted into better situations. It just means that their life is a little bit different. My life was different. It wasn't necessarily better. It was different. And just because people are eligible to adopt you doesn't mean that they have all the tools to really nourish you 100% mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. It just means that they're adults, they pay bills, and they can have children in their home that they take care of and sign off on paperwork for them. And I hate to, I don't mean to limit it at just that, but when you talk about adoption, I truly think that there needs to be an extensive trauma dive for those who are adopting, because it's not just, okay, we're going to have kids and we're going to live a happily ever after life. Children will illuminate anything that you're trying to brush underneath the rug, because that child is going to be living with you. So they're going to see and hear the things that your friends don't hear, or that their friends don't hear, or that the church buddies don't hear or don't see. Like, you know what I mean? We're going to absorb that, and it's going to live within us. And so, there has to be more focus on healing for the adults, for the parents, and for the children. Because again, when you adopt, off the rip at Front Street, your child is starting off with a loss, point blank, period. Don't, yes, you can be happy that you're just becoming a family. And every year my mom always pointed out, like, oh, this is the day that we became a family. I never really got excited for that day. That never was really a day where I was like, oh my God, June, something is coming up. Like, it was never. My brother always remembered. Now, me and my brother had two different foster care experiences too. My parents adopted two of the same siblings who came from the same mom, but we were two different people. We had two different temperaments. He came from a foster home where he wasn't being treated the best. I came from a foster care home where I loved it there. So he was happy to be adopted, where I was like,
why me?
Why? Like, who picked my name out the hat? Like, that's how I felt. So, it's one of those things where, I don't think that my parents, of course, I love them. They did their best. But at the end of the day, there's always room for improvement for me as well. I'm not the perfect daughter. But at the end of the day, I do try to extend the relationship to getting to know my parents better. And I would say that, my mom, throughout the years, I saw a lot of her really, changing as a parent and evolving as a parent. I can't really say I saw that in my father. My dad kind of stayed the same. Like, there really was no change. My mom, and then there were differences too, because my mom worked when we first got adopted. And then eventually she became a stay-at-home mom. So her temperament changed a little bit, because my mom was strict. That's her to her face. I was like, I don't like you. I feel like you're the Wicked Witch of the West. Are you related? Because her temper was short. And I already didn't want to be there. Right. So it's like, now you snapping on me. The backhand is quick. Like, send me back. Send me back. So it was a lot of adjusting and adapting and, all that. Turned out fine. They raised great children. But at the end of the day, like I say, there's always room for improvement, and especially in a dynamic such as adoption, because you truly have to get to know people for who they are and not who you want them to be. When people adopt children, it's like, these are my kids. These are, they look at what I did, and I gave you a roof over your head, and I did this for you. And it's like, well, without me, none of this would be possible. Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, like, let's be inclusive here. Like, it's not just all about you. It's about the whole family. Like that clip that I put, it, like, they're here to see the group. Ain't nobody come to see you, Otis. No, like, you know what I'm saying? It's about the group when you're adopted. It's not an individual thing. It's a group project. And if the group don't want to work on a group project, and there's only one person, trying to make sure that the project is done properly, that person don't, in school, that person wouldn't even get all the credit, because the group is recognized for that, right? But in our reality, in adoption, when one person is trying to work on a project and the other people aren't, the project don't get finished. It just stays the way that it is.
Yeah, and it's when you say, it cracked me up when you say your mother's a wicked witch of the East. I mean, you got to have good intentions, right? It's a daily task, right? Like, it's not just you adopt somebody and then, like, that's it. It is a daily discussion. It is a daily showing up, even when you don't want to, like, because guess what? You're the parent. You gotta figure it out, you know. And I think a lot of parents don't realize that. They don't realize the undertaking that it is, mentally and emotionally, because you know one day you might be good, and the next day, you know, your brain might be in la la land somewhere, and they got to try to figure out like what the problem is. I used to have a bad habit. I don't know how I got out of it, but in school, I would daydream a lot.
Mm.
So, teacher would be talking, and my eyes would like just drift out the window, and like it'd be like 20 minutes, and she'd be calling my name, and I'd be like, "Oh, huh? What'd you say?" I actually got in trouble for that, because it went on for like a couple of years,
Wow.
and I couldn't figure out why. And I wasn't thinking about anything. It wasn't like I was daydreaming about a chicken sandwich or something. It was like,
It's part of that biological break. That's science. That's historically and factually proven. But go ahead. It's part of being broken from your biological bond. Gazing and daydreaming off is a symptom of that.
yeah. So like, I used to, um, I did that a lot in, elementary, and I never. It kind of just went away. Um, Especially when I started getting written up for it. Like, I was like, well, I got
I
got
gotta
to figure
change.
something out. Let me daydream while I'm at
Punishing
home. Yeah, what the heck? I ain't trying to get, lose no points on my grades or nothing. So I
right.
was like, I don't know. I guess it kind of just went away. I didn't do it. Like, I didn't do anything specific to like fix it. So it wasn't like I was like, oh yeah, let me go read this book and figure out what I need to do. It kind of just went away. So, um, but there are times like that where you definitely can't, um, you stray away. And I understand what you're saying about your parents. They probably, you know didn't have the type of parents that gave them the love that they needed, or, um, not enough.
Yeah.
Um, and so I say that to say, like, look at you now.
Look at me now. Oh.
Walk
Um,
it out. Walk it out.
yeah, my parents, God, learning, seeking, my own knowledge, because at one point I thought I was going crazy in my head. Like, is it just me? Like, am I wrong for wanting parents who are emotionally invested in me? Like, am I wrong for that? And so, when you were telling me, really, was it last live when you were like, no, you need to sit your parents down and you need to talk about da 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 da. And I know you're still serious about that. However,
Speaking of that,
when you don't have that emotional closeness, it's hard to come into someone's territory to tell them, what you think is best, when, you've tried to have multiple conversations, and the idea of the conversation is just, not something that they want to do. So,
mhm,
talking about your afterlife, like, we gotta get it right here on earth right now. Like, what I mean? Whatever happens in afterlife happens,
mm,
you know what I'm saying? But if we can't get earth right, life right now, I don't even know how I can approach the table to talk about your afterlife if we can't get living under control. Um, but yeah, every day, open to the possibility that things will change, that things will turn, that, that there will be a realization that, we weren't we weren't sent to only change their lives. I mean, they weren't only sent to change our lives, but we were sent to change their lives too. And I think that's another thing that adoptive parents should consider. You're making a huge impact on a child's life, but don't underestimate the impact that that child is going to have on your life, because just because you're an adult don't mean that things in your life can't change, don't mean that you can't look at things in a different way. Sometimes the children are here to teach the adults. And I say it again and I'll say it always: kids don't stay kids for long. They grow up, they have their own thoughts, their own feelings, and a lot of things that happen or don't happen does affect them. So as parents, you got to be in tune with that and not say, oh, well, you're just too emotional, or you're just too much, you're just doing too much. And, when you hear that from a parent, it's like, all right, uh, I guess I would have to keep talking to this therapist, because you know, they're the only ones acknowledging the feelings, but I guess it's because they get paid to. I don't know, but it's helping. It's helping. So, but yeah, it takes a lot to grow up adopted. It does. It takes a lot of being the bigger person, or being the stronger person, or being the person that has, all of these things pinned up inside of you, and no one really taking the time to um sit in that with you, especially the people that choose to be there with you. Like, you chose to be here with me, and now I mean you can't be here with me. I don't understand. But over time, I've gotten to an understanding that things just are who they are, and I have to accept people for who they are, no matter if they chose me or not.
It's funny you said that because um, this was way before my mom had passed, my adopted mom, and
Mhm.
she told me, she was like, you're the strongest person in the family. I didn't even know what that meant at the time.
We have to be.
Um, so I'm going to say this again. You need to have that conversation.
I'll send my brother.
Yeah, maybe you need a mediator. Like, maybe you need somebody in your family to really help you have that conversation.
Ah,
I'm just giving you a warning. Is It should happen, and that's for everybody listening. If your parents are still living and you don't know what their last will and testament is, you don't know what their wishes are. Um, I highly encourage you to take care of that, because once they're gone, it's harder to make all of those decisions if you haven't already talked about it. And that is my last 2 cents.
all right. And on that note, we can get up out of here. But it's been an awesome live. No, I hear you. And that's going to take prayer. I ain't even going to lie to you. I'm not. I'm keep it real. It's the real precious, right? It's prayer. And some openness and willingness. Because the way I see it, and this is just me, the way that I see it is, I can't see myself having a conversation about talking about the afterlife and taking care of things for you, is if there is no reciprocation and being able to be there for our emotional needs either. Like, it's like, okay, I'm going to be taking care of you in the afterlife, but while we're living, we're just going through these motions, like we don't know that the afterlife's not coming. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you would think that it would be more of the open conversation because they are closer to that point in life. But again, there are certain things that happen that makes me realize that people sometimes don't care to move forward or open up or, you know, grow in that way. They're okay just where they are and how they are. And so it's hard. It's hard. I'm telling you, it's hard to really be the bigger. I told you before, I'm tired of being strong. Like I am. Like I don't that it would take some extra strength for me, some extra strength for me to, you know, try to correlate this conversation. It really would, because
Well, as your new friend, I encourage you to at least give it some effort. I know it might take a little bit, but um, trust me when I say things are so much harder when
I
they're
mean,
gone.
I'm almost at a point where it's just like I don't even want nothing. I don't
It,
even I
it's
don't
not about that.
I don't
It's
even
not about that.
I don't want anything.
It's about what their last what their last wishes are. Because
Well,
like
how you gonna have a wish after you die, but not a wish while you live? And see, I don't want no responsibilities after you die. I'm just being real. I'm being real. Okay. What wishes are you gonna have for me when you die? But you can't talk to me in real life while you living. I don't. I help me understand that. Maybe if someone can help me understand that, maybe I can talk about afterlife, but I want to talk about here and now.
all right, Luther.
That's what I want to talk about here and now. Okay. I can't even think about the afterlife. Like, I can't even think about those things because the here and now is not, there's no clarity there. And honestly, there is clarity. There is clarity, right? The clarity is that they will be who they are, and that's fine. I can accept that. But I can't do fake. Like I can't do the going through the motions because we're adopted. Like, you know what I mean? Like I I don't know how to do that. Maybe I need to, you know what? Let me book an appointment for my therapist because we need to have that conversation. Like I don't know how to compute it in my heart, in my mind. I don't know how to do it. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. So that's where and believe me, I know you mean well, and I know you're right. I know you're right in what you're saying because you know I worked in mortgage court and eviction courts and all of that. Like, you know, where people are just like it just drops on people. And they're like, oh, well, they just stopped paying, or you know, we had to foreclose. Like, I I know, but I I would need a professional's help to get over the hump that I am at now in order to look to the future. And I told you,
Yeah,
I'm not an expert. I'm just an adoptee going through the process right along with everybody else. Okay. I do not profess to be an expert.
me
I
neither.
I am an advocate for those who can't speak as freely as I do. Right. There are always people who, you know, they go through this experience and they hurt in silence and they hurt and by themselves. I'm someone that is able to give you my story and my life and what I learn and what I go through so that you have the courage to also have these conversations. And it may not be on a platform like this. It may just be I need to go see a therapist. I need to go talk to somebody like this because like we say, adoption is forever. This what I'm going through right now is because of adoption, right? So it needs to be something that I am open with the therapist with and have this conversation so I know how to have the conversation that you're talking about. And then once I get over that hurdle, we'll be right back up on here. Like, y'all, guess what? We had the conversation. But until then, I'm just being honest where I am here and now. Like you said. So that's just, I gotta be honest with you, because I know you're gonna keep telling me, but I gotta let you know what's going, why there's a blockage. Why there's some
That doesn't mean I can't keep encouraging you.
Oh no, yeah, keep doing it.
And everybody in the chat, because I think it's very important, especially we as African Americans, Black folks, they don't talk about that. They want to. I was very fortunate. My parents, they had things taken care of. So like when my mom passed, all I had to do was call the insurance. That was probably harder than actually being at the funeral, trying to hold it together, and saying,
getting all the business
I'm
together.
calling about my mom. She just passed. Like, like that was tough, And that was really the first time I had ever dealt with something like that, because when my adopted dad passed, my mom took care of all that. So like we weren't even, she handled everything. So like all we had to do was show up, at the funeral. So like I really encourage people to really check into like their parents or their loved one's life, um, to really understand like their finances, their life insurance specifically. And if they don't have life insurance, you should go get it for them. Like, because some places you don't even need. So some places you don't even need to get um, like you don't even need to get like a medical exam.
For a quote.
Yes, yeah. Like, but I'm just putting it out there. I'm not saying that you need to do it. I'm just giving ideas, giving people.
I think my parents were like your parents. Like they got it all together. They were very, very responsible and all that good stuff.
But it's always good to confirm.
Yeah, right. Okay. Woo, Jesus. We just gonna pray about it. Okay.
No. I mean, you pray, but like you need to find out. Mo, I'm just trying to help her out. Because
the Lord told me y'all was good. Okay, me and him had a talk.
Because I done been through this 2 times in the last 6 years. So I understand what that means.
Yeah,
and so
but I mean, it the dynamic, the dynamic in families make a huge difference. You always talk about the closeness between you and your mom. I'm not sure, about how you and your dad were, but like I said, children need both parents, right? You can't expect one parent to parent through the other parent. You can't. Like you just can't do that. If that was the case, you should have just been a single parent and adopted me by yourself. Like I'm realistic. Like I deal in reality, not fantasy, not what you thought this was going to be, or no, the reality of the situation. And the dynamic of relationship does play a huge part when those conversations
I agree.
are vital, and they're important, and they hold weight, and they determine a lot. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that would be the huge difference between us. And and there are a lot of differences in our stories where it's just like, you wish you would have the relationship with your siblings and things that I have that you don't have. Well, the thing that you have, well, I wish that I had the closeness with my parents. Like that's one thing that I wish was a reality, and it's, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But I want that. All we want is stability. Adopt a child, no matter how old we are, no matter how gray we get. We just want to be stable. Like, we're tired of the, we done went through enough of that. I have anyway. So I'm gonna pray on it.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk to a therapist about it as well, because I don't have the answer. And I would rather seek out the answer and seek out advice than to stay ignorant and to be like, it don't matter, But again, I can only do what I can do. And if someone else doesn't choose to grow to that level, then I'll take my gifts elsewhere, That's it, and that's all. Salute to you too. I appreciate the chat this evening. Y'all were very engaging. Y'all always engaging. Y'all don't disappoint. Y'all really do not disappoint. Y'all really do not disappoint.
Mo said I was overwhelming you.
No, it wasn't that you were overwhelmed. I think because we spoke about it before, and then we spoke about it again, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have to tell him the truth about the situation, because I don't want you to think that I'm just trying to be this rebellious person. I'm not trying to have that conversation. Of course, it's an important conversation, but it's difficult when you don't have the closeness, and that closeness was never really, built. And again, I had the dynamic of one parent trying to parent through the other parent, but I do need that other parent. I need you in ways that the other parent can't be there for me. Like, you know what I mean? Because of the dynamic of a father and a mother. So, I also have to come to terms with some people, when you don't have it to give, it's unloving for me to even ask it of you. If I know you don't have it to give me $20. I ain't got it. But I need you to give me $20, but I ain't got it. But I need the $20, but I ain't got it. It would be unloving for me to continue to ask you for that $20, knowing that you don't have it, right? But it's hard to navigate in life when situations are going to come up and things need to be discussed, where you're supposed to have it, right? I'm supposed to have these conversations. I'm supposed to reach out and get that information and set things up. It's just hard when it's not when the person don't have it for me. Like, you know what I mean? It's hard to be there in spite of. So, but it wasn't overwhelming. It was just, it's a growing pain. It's a growing pain. It definitely is.
She's in the hot seat, folks.
Huh?
I say you're in the hot seat.
I'm okay being in the hot seat. It's all good. But I appreciate you guys. If you have enjoyed tonight's live, definitely donate to the channel. I thought I saw I did start here. If I were to foster or adopt, I want someone with y'all's experience to mediate. Ever think about consulting firm for foster families in need? That is something that I always think about, because I always say that I couldn't be a social worker. I thought I could. I was going to, I had started my master's in social work, and then I realized it wasn't something that I wanted to do, but to mediate and to be a voice of reason, or someone that the adoptee or the foster child can relate to or confide in, or someone I can mentor. I already mentor girls now, but they're not necessarily adopted or foster care. It's just girls in the community. But I would definitely do that. And it's getting nicer out. In the cold, I hibernate. It's getting nicer out. So I can also, check to see in my area where that is needed, to see if it even is needed, if they're, looking for something, or just to implement myself in the space just because I've been through it. Because you want someone who's been through the experience, right? Sometimes you have foster care workers who ain't got no kids trying to tell you what to do with kids, or they have kids, but they didn't adopt those kids, but they trying to tell you what to do with adopted kids. Or a lot of times the adoptee experience is just not advocated for enough because children are vulnerable and they do what the adults say. This is very adult driven. It's a very adult driven dynamic. And foster and adoptees need advocates for them, you know, to go through the life experiences and changes that they go through that are continuous all the way up into adulthood, right? It's just like you want to be around your friends and talk about y'all commonalities. Adoptees want to do the same thing, and we just don't have the circles to do it. We don't have the open. And now it's becoming, now I'm seeing more and more on Instagram and being exposed to more, you know, pages and groups. We have the adoptee meetup in October in Philly. I can't wait to, you know, attend that and to, you know, just be around other people who have been adopted and have gone through this experience, and just to hear their stories and how they get through. So
Yeah, I wonder how long the drive that is.
Philly,
I'm in Maryland. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
It's probably only like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Not.
Well, it's not bad.
I
It take
go to-
9 hours to get to Detroit.
How many?
9.
Oh, you're not passing 3 hours getting to Philly. Maryland. My sister lives in Annapolis, so it's only
Oh,
about
okay.
a 2.5 hour drive for me to get to her from where I'm at in Jersey. So yeah, Philly is definitely closer. All right, guys, if you enjoyed the platform, definitely show some love. All right, and we're going to be back here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern for the men's forum. So if you are interested in watching us again, I don't know if Leon's going to be on the panel. Sometimes he joins, sometimes he doesn't. He's usually in the chat, still supporting, so I appreciate it. But definitely you guys are all welcome to come back tomorrow. We have a couple of videos to go over and discuss and just kind of, you know, dive deeper into getting a deeper understanding of men and women, not pointing the finger, but being better people day by day. That's what the men's forum is about not pointing the finger, but seeing how everyone can be better on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be doing that tomorrow. But thank you guys again. I really appreciate it. I love having these conversations. It allows us to be advocates, but also to just be adoptees going through the experience just like everybody else. And so, guys, thank you so much. Y'all know what I say. We're over here on the Adoptee Foster where we say the uncomfortable things out loud. But my original closer, and will always be a closer of mine, is be real with yourself so you can be real with everyone else. You guys have a great evening. Thank you so much. You didn't have to, but you did, and I appreciate you. Good night. See you tomorrow.
See ya.